Supervisor meeting to order. Ask the clerk to call a roll, please.
Steve Karyanen. Kay Wilson. She's virtual. Tweed Schuman.
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Randy Newman. Mark Helwig. Thomas Duffy. Marshall Savitsky. Jim Evans, virtual.
Here.
Chuck Van Etten. Jeff Haney. John Righeimer. Ron Kinsley.
Here.
Ron Buckholz. Dale Magnuson. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 4, certification and compliance with open meeting laws.
This meeting was noticed to the media and the public as required by Section 19.84 of Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. Number 5 is the meeting agenda. The agenda is set. Number 6 is public comment. Public comment, we ask you to state your name and address. Try to stay within 3 minutes so we can get everybody through. If we're not done by 7 o'clock, we're gonna stop. First person, Rhonda Isel, Chippewa River Road.
Good evening, folks. My name is Rhonda Isold. I live at 11007 West Chief River Road in the city of Hayward. I have heard at least 2 people tell this board or the committee that a lake district is the purest form of democracy that exists. If that is so, why am I being forced into a tax district by a group of private individuals who reside mainly out of the state of Wisconsin? Why is a group of private people trying to force me into a taxation district that could increase my property taxes by over 30% for a cause in which I do not benefit? Why is this private group trying to have the ability to affect my property taxes? Is that democracy? A lake district can impose special tax assessments on everybody's property within an approved district for 10 years. Everyone's property will have a lien imposed on it. People will have difficulty selling their property, and it will potentially affect their credit rating. A majority of the properties included within the district do not have a signed petition attached to it. Also, less than half of the established lake districts in the state of Wisconsin are still active. Do not forget that every board member at the last meeting voted on a resolution asking the state to allow more oversight over lake districts. Everyone who voted for that resolution must have major concerns over approving a lake district, or he or she would have voted against the resolution. I do not believe that any group of private people should have the ability to raise my taxes for their causes. I have sent emails to every member of this board outlining all the reasons why this lake district should be voted down. I have sent many documents justifying a vote against the approval of this district. I've also sent emails to you explaining why the properties who request a removal from the district should be removed. This board has the legal authority to remove properties at their discretion. That's all they need. They just have to have the ability or the desire to do it. It is obvious that the Lake Association believes that their boundaries are perfect and they will not remove any properties from the district at a later date. Please keep that in mind when you make a decision on removing properties from the district. Finally, please review all the emails and documents I have sent to you guys. They more than justify your vote against the Lake District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dave Tenner, Adams Lake Road.
Hi, Dave Tenner, 10872W Callahan Lake Road. I am in favor of the Lake District and have since the beginning. Just here to remind you, per the state statute, that 62% of the people within the boundaries as defined signed the petition. So there's a small handful of people that keep protesting against it, but there's a lot of people that can't be here. They're depending on some of us that are a part of the committee that put a bunch of the paperwork together to keep the message moving forward. So that's why I'm here, to keep moving it forward. When I meet people in bars and restaurants, they always ask me, what's going on, Dave? What's the holdup? Why isn't this moving forward? I struggle to tell them a clear answer. I know it's a complicated issue, but my wish is we can get this figured out and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. David Wegener? Chief Lake Road.
Good evening, David Wegener, 11123 West Chief River Road. Wanted to speak in opposition of the Lake District and in particular the Lake District boundaries. About 3.5 years ago, my wife and I made the decision to move down to Hayward from the Ashland area. We specifically purchased property that was not on a lake because we knew we could not afford lakefront taxes. We knew that was not in our means. We found a piece of property that was not on a lake. We purchased it, built our home on our own, and now I find out about 2.5 weeks ago that I am included in this Lake District boundary. My property does not border up to the lake. I have zero access to the lake, can't even see the lake from my property, yet a group of individuals chose that my property should be in that boundary. I feel that that's unfair. I don't think that it should be up to a private group to decide where these property boundaries and how these properties are chosen to be put into these Lake District boundaries. Again, I have zero access to the lake, can't see the lake. I have property that is behind my property that borders the lake. But again, I am not on the lake. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is I looked through the agendas and a lot of the attachments that are part of the agendas from previous meetings and such. And I saw there was several maps and a list of property owners that want to be removed from the Lake District boundaries. We are not listed on that. So I want to make this my formal request to be removed from the Lake District boundaries. And I want it known that our name is not on that list because we were not aware of this up until about 2.5 weeks ago. So when you look at that list is not probably up to date because my name is not on that. So I ask that you guys make this decision and think about the fairness. Think about the fairness of the process, okay? Why would somebody like me who does not have property on the lake, why should my taxes be raised for something that I have zero benefit? Being part of that Lake District does not give me any more benefits than any one of you sitting here tonight. I have zero access to the lake. I don't benefit from that, just like the rest of you. So why should I have to pay more taxes than all of you should too? And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that there are properties that are included in this Lake District boundary that should not be. The boundaries were not drawn correctly, and it was made up by just a group of individuals who decided this is where we should put it. And clearly they're not looking at the whole picture. So I ask that you think about fairness when you look at this decision. I know it's a difficult decision, but I do ask that you think about the fairness of how this is affecting those of us that do not have access to the lake from our property. It's an unfair deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Ormanson.
Lynn Amundson, 10745W Callahan Lake Road. For the past 5 months, we have come before the Land, Water, and Forest Resource Committee and the Board of Supervisors, all of you, in our efforts to become a lake district. While we know that this concept is new to all of those in Sawyer County, we hope you've had the opportunity to thoroughly review the process through UW Extension and feedback and meetings with your legal counsel. We want to thank you for your diligence in the process. We also appreciate the diligence and thorough job the Land, Water, and Forest Resource Committee did, and are pleased that they found our petition to meet all of the requirements as stated in the Wisconsin statutes. We look forward to your ongoing support to approve our becoming a lake district.
Thank you. Mr. Tom Murray.
Hi. My name is Tom Murray. I live at 10671 W Falcon Ridge Road. Okay, since our last meeting and with more research, I found out that there are 32 proposed changes to the Wisconsin State Statute 33 created by the Wisconsin Lake Extension, UW Stevens Point. Here's the 33 proposed changes. They're formatted so a reviewer can read the current text and statute, the proposed change, and the rationale. At the last board meeting on February 20th, 25, it was stated by an individual that there have been no changes to Chapter 33 for 50 years. Not true. There have been changes previously made, plus the provisions that the board has set forward. And so how could we vote on a proposed document that could change at any time and change significantly? Because some of these changes, there is not a statute, they're asking to add a statute. And by adding a statute, they reference up to 2 to 3 more statutes that could change. We could be looking at a totally different Chapter 33 if these changes were to be affected. And you can bet that the 32 changes are gonna favor UW who submitted them. And then moving on, Chapter 66, which I don't know if we've talked a lot about it, but that covers special assessments. When a special assessment is assigned by a lake district, it'll place a lien on properties in the district, in the boundary. It will affect future sales, mortgages, sales, refinancing, and hurt your credit rating. And the list goes on. There's more than just that. And a municipality cannot impose a special assessment on property in a lake district that would not receive no benefit from the work or improvement that they're doing. Callahan Lakefront property owners have said many times that if the dam goes away, their property values will decrease significantly. My property value is not affected by the dam staying or being removed per our county assessor. I had him write a letter earlier that I read here and submitted to all the board members. Here's a letter he just wrote. I am writing to inform you the replacement of the dam on Callahan Lake would have no impact on the value of your property located at 10671 Falcon Ridge in the town of Round Lake. The reason this to be the case is your property does not have frontage on Callahan or Mud Lake and therefore would be unaffected by the installation of a new dam. One thing that kind of bothers me, we hear this statement, pay their fair share. That's talking to a specific individual or group. Anyone in this boundary has a right to ask for detachment if their property receives no benefit or added value per State Statute 33.33, paragraph 3. Value and benefits are the appropriate terms to use. To pay their fair share indicates you've not done due diligence on attachment requests per statute. Lake District formation members have stated that a person can't just say they don't want to be in the district. Neither I nor other off-lake property owners that have spoke here have used that. We presented documents and paperwork to back up our detachment requests. Remember this, just because we were placed in a boundary with no input on our behalf doesn't mean we have to stay in the proposed district. Anyone has a right to request detachment. I would like to see the county look into taking ownership of the dam. After attending meetings from the beginning, listening and speaking, I believe with suggestions and input from individuals and your experience and resources, we could find a solution to the dam. A dam which has been ignored and let deteriorate to its present conditions over the past 50 years. Do I still have any time? Okay. Thanks for letting me go. I did have a little more to go, but I can share with you.
Thank you. Stephanie Wagner?
Hi, Stephanie Wegener. I live at 11123 West Chief River Road. I'm here today to speak on behalf of myself, my husband who already spoke, we do not have access to the lake. I don't feel it is fair for us to be part of this district. There's another property behind us. We built our forever home here to let our grandkids come to, and I'd hate to lose it because we can't afford it, because we are gonna have a tax that we did not plan on. We love the lakes, we'd love to be part of it, it's just not in our financial budget. But I'm asking that we be removed for the district. It's just not fair for us if we don't have access. We have no different access than anyone in this room that doesn't live around that area, or a tourist or whatever. Just ask that we be removed from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Isel?
Greg Isold, 11007 West Chief River Road. The more research I do on lake districts, the more I can't find anything good that would benefit my property. In fact, all I can find is how bad it would affect my property and hurt me financially. I am not on the lake, and I would be expected to pay more than a lot of people on the lake. I keep wondering how many people who sign a petition know how much it's going to hurt them. Why hasn't the Lake Association told anyone how much a dam would cost and that they would be charged with a special assessment which would hurt their property values and their credit report? I can clearly see why well over 50% of the Lake District in Wisconsin are inactive. You can have a special assessment on your property, which will be there for 10 years, and then the district will keep asking you for more money. You would not want to belong to a district and keep paying more and more every year. The Lake District would be required to start over and tell everyone how much it would cost each of us every year, how it will bring down your property values, and tell you what happens when you have a special assessment. I highly doubt they would get 50% of the property owners to sign. I, as well as all of you, have been paying taxes for infrastructure of Sawyer County. Included in that are 7 dams that we all have been paying for. If I am forced to pay for a dam through a lake district, I would ask this board to abandon all dams that we are paying taxes on. Why should our taxes be used for 7 dams and not this one? You should also halt any money going for the dam on Fish Trap Lake immediately. I feel everyone in Sawyer County benefits from all the lakes here. All businesses benefit from the lakes. This is what Sawyer County is known for. Why shouldn't Sawyer County treat all the lakes the same? If a small group of people volunteer to rebuild this dam, I would agree 100% to let them. But there is no way that anyone should be forced to pay for a dam through a lake district. I am asking this board to exclude my properties and all others that did not volunteer to pay for a dam through a lake district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Natalie Lillyblad?
Hi, my name is Natalie Lillyblad. I live at 10730 W Otter Lane. And I am against being on the Lake District or forced into it. I was brought up that you are a good person, you tell the truth, you treat people fair, and so on. I don't think it's fair for people that live on the lake, many who have 2, possibly 3 homes, for me to be put into their group to help pay for their bills. I live on a road that is not maintained by Sawyer County, okay? Very similar. Well, maybe they want to help with my plowing bill this year and for the next years to come. I mean, where does this end? What about the people between Grindstone and Lake Coudray, if they form lake districts? Are they going to get annexed into their bills too? This could be a mess. And I am angry I'm here to talk to you today because I don't think this is fair. And shame on you people that are on Callahan Lake to put us in this mess. I think it's not a good thing. It's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vacinda?
Hello, my name is Bart Bitsinda. I'm here representing a chunk of land that was included in the Lake District. I, like Mr. Wagner, the land is in Robert and Joan Bitsinda Family Trust, is the way it's titled. We have a gravel pit on this property. Like Mr. Wagner, luckily I found out about this before he did, but we didn't receive any notification of any of this either. I just happened to see the talk on looking up the minutes of a county board meeting or in the news. Came up, talked to the clerk. I believe her, she showed me a mailing list, but for some reason, we didn't receive any notifications on this either. Lost in the mail, whatever, it doesn't matter. We are the southeasternmost property in the Lake District, not counting Department of Natural Resources land. Nowhere near the lake. The only conceived value we would have is by hauling some material out of the gravel pit to there, but that would put, with that notion, that would put us in the same thing as a triple flowage lake district, round lake, anything that we haul to. So there isn't anything special for that. And like I said, we're the farthest property away that isn't publicly owned. And I was just wanted to make sure that everybody here knew that we wanted to be removed from the Lake District also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linda Zoomer.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, and probably the only person up in this area of the room, other than Mr. Kinsley, that knew what it was like when the Sawyer County was under an administrator form of, or county administrative coordinator form of government, with Hal Helwig as the county board chair and Chris Mayberry as the county clerk, taking care of the administrative matters. And all the committees of jurisdiction really knew what was going on within their committees. The change was made to go to an administrator form of government when Hal Helwig and Chris Mayberry indicated that they would not be seeking office in the future. We've had 2 county administrators now, and what I've watched over the years is a growing disconnect between what county board supervisors understand and thus would be able to explain to their constituents, because so much is left to one individual. Today I sent an email to you all that includes the state statute descriptions for the 2 positions, a sample of the PAA job posting that they've put out for many counties, and some other materials to review. So I think before the county moves forward with looking at candidates, please look at your own job description. Take a look at how what has been done over the course of the last 2 county administrators matches up to that, and then make a determination as an entire board, because each of you represents a district, as to what is best for the citizens of Sawyer County and property owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online?
I'd like to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Martin Hanson, 11078N Robin Lane, Hayward, Wisconsin. I'm here to speak on the issue of Lake District creation, not specifically Callahan Mud Lake before you tonight, but in general, which would include Callahan Mud Lake. The Wisconsin legislature created Chapter 33, which specifically describes the purpose, formation requirements, and operating requirements of lake districts. Section 3311 states, the primary goal of activity under this chapter shall be to improve or protect the quality of public inland lakes. The question before you tonight is not about who is in the district and who is out. That can be debated forever, and you'll never achieve the perfect boundary. The petitioners have spent years studying the boundary, and Sawyer County has spent hours, not years, in committees and your board. The boundary must not only consider current owners and the current use, but also the long-term potential, and that may include non-riparian owners. The question before you is, does the Lake District promote the protection of environmental values, wildlife, public rights in navigable waters, and the general public welfare? I believe that lake districts may be a necessary structure where lake associations and local governments are unable to provide for these protections. Lake associations may have too few members to raise revenues. Local government or counties may not have sufficient staff and budget to take necessary actions to protect lake environments and public welfare. Where lake district petitions have been prepared and submitted, which takes an enormous amount of effort. The petition in all ways complies with the requirements of Chapter 33. I would ask that you would accept the petition and approve the creation of that Lake District as presented without any changes. Keep in mind that in order for the applicant to submit a petition to the county, the applicant must prove that a majority in the district is in favor, and that is the democratic process to proceed with the majority opinion decision. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Number 7, consider approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of February 20th.
I'll move we approve of the minutes presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mr. Duffy to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, Indian Head Community Action Agency has a presentation for us. Remember the rest of it.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Schaefer. I'm the HR director from Indian Head Community Action Agency. And this is Penny Scherzer. She is one of our specialists. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Penny Scherzer. I am one of the ICAA community, or no, I'm sorry. I just got this new title. So, are you ready?
It's long.
It's long. It's like forever. It is a community action. No. No, I'm telling the.
She doesn't know.
I
what
don't
she
know.
does. No, I'm kidding.
No, basically what I am is I'm an outreach specialist as well as an administrative assistant for a couple of
The
our
agency.
programs. Mhm.
Great. I really appreciate that you welcomed us here today. We just wanted to take a few minutes to be able to talk about the programs that we do offer the community. Our real focus is to be the change that we want to see in the world. Indian Head has operated since 1966, and we do service Sawyer County. And so I'm going to take a moment to talk about a few of the programs, and then Penny is going to finish up with a few other programs. One such program is our Community Services Block Grant, and that's been around for years. I actually had the pleasure of being able to run that program for a short time and then took the HR director role. That program is there to service individuals that are in need of assistance for rent, transportation, like fixing their cars if they can't get to a job. We help with utility bills. We help with gas cards when people need it, as well as electricity, mortgage payments, even taxes that someone might be behind on. One thing I think is important, though, is it doesn't matter what program that we do run, we try to take a look at the person's needs as a whole, and then we offer and try to refer them to other programs within our agency, but also we have networks outside of the agency. So we do a lot to try to not only help the person in that emergent need, but also bring them to a point of self-sufficiency, and look at things like, are there budgeting issues? Did they lose a job? Can we connect them with, a job network somewhere where they can find another job? So that's the Community Services Block Grant. The next program that I'd like to talk about is our Diverse Business Assistance Program. I'm excited about that program because it offers the opportunity to provide $5,000 grant to individuals that are looking to start their own business. And those individuals have to qualify based on their income. But ultimately, say a young person is interested in starting a lawn mowing business, this might be something that we can help them with. And what we'll do is work with them to set up a business plan. We get the tax ID that they would need, and then we also help them with websites. So we've had quite a few successful businesses that have opened up. So it's an exciting program, and hopefully we can continue to help people. Another is our Quest Child Care Development Program. That program is to work with people that may have in-home daycares that might be interested in opening their own licensed daycare. So we have individuals that will go and actually work with them to go through that licensing process. Then, of course, we have the Head Start and the Early Head Start programs, which, are also housed here in Hayward. So we do service children 0 to 5. And, it's just a nice program to be able to help individuals that qualify based on their income level and give them the opportunity to go to work and have their child somewhere. And in that program, we're helping, supply nutrition. We're helping in areas as far as education. So it's a good program to have. Finally, we do have a food pantry here in Hayward, but we have several food pantries. We do service 6 different counties. But I think the one that we have here is called the Hayward Community Shelf. And so another good program to provide assistance. In this past year, it's been a little difficult because they did cut TFAP programming by 50%, but we've still managed to be able to get donations. When we do get donations, or how we are funded are through state, federal grants, as well as we do have some private foundation funding. So, and again, thank you for having us here, and I'll let Penny talk about a few programs.
So, our ICAA home visiting. So in partnership with Healthy Families America, our home visiting program is open to all families who are pregnant or have an infant up to 3 months of age, regardless of income and background. The program provides free parental guidance in building positive relationships between child and parent. These services, once a family is enrolled, extend until the infant is 3 years old. The ICAA Family Resource Center is an emerging program. We are not part of Sawyer County yet. However, there are services under the resource program that do service Sawyer, and that includes a diaper delivery service where any family based on income can receive free pull-ups and or diapers all the way up to size like 5T. There's also a car seat inspection and installation program that those ladies provide. The Lifeline program is a USAC, which is the Universal Service Administrative Company. Program is in partnership with the FCC. It provides a discounted service to clients when using a participating provider with the program for either cell phone service or home internet. This discount can save clients up to about $120 a year. Our RICE grant, which is the routine immunization through community engagement, is a educational program on adult vaccines. We have collaboratively reviewed resource page on our website that received input from the public health nurses across our 6 counties and is, of course, available online at our website. SSVF, that is our Supportive Services for Veteran Families program. It is in partnership with the Department of Veteran Affairs and the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs. This program provides temporary financial assistance and case management to aid very low-income veterans and their families. We help locate and maintain safe housing through aid in rental payments and deposits, utilities, moving costs, childcare, and transportation. Our case managers support our vets and their families with referrals for housing and other supportive services. And finally, our LAV program. This is for legal assistance for victims. It offers support in the civil needs as well as supportive needs in aiding clients in finding an environment free of violence. Through partnerships with Judicare and private lawyers, Clients can expect the program to advocate for them to connect with resources to aid in housing, utility assistance, food, and other services to ensure all options are available for positive outcomes.
That concludes our presentation, but we'd like for you to, when you do exit, we've laid some folders with brochures for our program. There should be enough folders for each of you if you could partake in those.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, our main office is in Ladysmith. Mhm.
Yep.
But we thank you for having us here, and maybe we'll, hope to help you. If you have any other questions, you are always welcome to reach out to us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, Land, Water, Forestry Resource Committee. Steve Carrion.
Thank you. At the March 12th Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee meeting, we talked about a number of things, including Callahan and Mud Lake petition. Mr. Alvarado reviewed the progress of the petition and stated that the report to the county board was already approved, but asked the committee if they would make any new recommendations on district boundaries. After consideration of removing 10 properties of requested detachment, the committee moved to keep the original boundary as presented by the Lake District. Other things we worked on, heard from Land Records and County Surveyor Department. Mr. DeVries updated the committee on attending the WLIA conference. Talked about preparations to implement Act 235 reforms and 3-inch aerial photography that will take place this spring. And it's on a 5-year cycle, and it's 50% funded by grant. Mr. Peterson gave a forestry report, explained that there are 11 active timber sales. Spring timber bids are going out April 1st for approval at the May meeting. ATV, UTV grant applications are due April 15th for trail work, and trail closures were in place early this year because of the conditions on the ground. Mr. Peterson also met with the Sealy Trails Group, and they are revising their original plan to a smaller footprint, and a meeting will be held with stakeholders, and the proposal will come back to our committee in April. We have heard a recreational trails report from Mr. Davison, who reported on motorized trails and stated that the work done on the trails has greatly improved the whole trail system. Mr. Kozlowski gave a zoning and conservation report. The tree sale is ongoing. Non-metallic mining inspections are underway. The DNR is allowing a temporary water increase at Billy Boy Dam, and the Birch Lake Dam needs $10,000 of repair in 2025. We also had a USDA report from Mr. Basasi on the Managed Conservation Stewardship and Environmental Quality Incentives Program. USDA is working with private landowners on invasive species, control of buckthorn and honeysuckle. And finally, we talked about the tax deed and foreclosure process. Mr. Alvarado presented a draft resolution to the county tax deed, or amending the current tax deed foreclosure process in response to a statewide class action suit. The committee discussed the proposed changes and asked for additional language to formally establish a 3-year timeline for foreclosure, because it appears the process has been taking 5 years, so it kind of drags out. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Letter B, approve the 2025 emergency fire award. Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, actually, last week after the Land Water Committee, it was discovered that the fire warden list had not been approved for 2025. I think in the turnover of clerk to clerk, it got lost in an email. But we found it, and with the chairs, okay, we put it out. Normally we'd go to the committee with it, but given where we are in the fire season, we thought it'd be good just to bring this straight to the board. The DNR requires that the county board approve the list of emergency fire wardens, so that's why it's here in front of you.
Cecil.
Make a motion to approve the 2025 emergency fire wardens as presented.
Mr. Schuman.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Cecil, second by Mr. Schuman to approve the list of fire wardens. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, Callahan and Mud Lake District discussion possible action. Mr. Alvarado.
Yep, this is on the agenda this month. We missed putting it on last month, but it had been postponed at the January meeting to allow the board to participate in the Wisconsin Counties Association webinar or education on lake districts. So at this point, we just added the same agenda items. The report to the board that's in there, you've already accepted. I did want to just review one thing. I'm gonna turn it over in a sec here to Corporation Counsel Roker to kind of explain your options tonight of what you can do to approve it, turn it down, amend boundaries, that type of thing. But I know there was some public comment about being removed from the district. So we did go back this last week and review. Some of those requests came in through public comment. Some were in writing. So this map here shows the updated parcels in red that have asked to be removed. The blue are the parcels that signed the petition. And I'm just going to read off, just so everybody knows that we do have these recorded. The request to be removed, in addition to what's already in the packet, there's already a list in there. The additions that have come in the last couple months have been Bruce and Don Pantillo, Robert and Joan Batsinda Family Trust, Natalie Lilyblad, David C. and Stephanie F. Wagner, Patricia Palicki, and Irene Kaczynski. So there's 14 owners that have requested removal. So I just want to get that on the record that we do have those recorded. So as far as next steps, we have to make a decision within 6 months of the public hearing. So the public hearing was November 6th, so you have till May 6th to act. But at this point, I have no more information to share with you. I think we've answered all the questions we can and put all the information. So I'll turn it over to
Chairman, I got a question for Mr. Alvarado real quick. What efforts have been made for the municipalities to repair this dam?
We don't
own the township, the county, I know we don't own it.
We don't own it.
But have there been any efforts to access funds at the state?
We can't access the funds if we don't own it. There needs to be a owner of record in order to access the dam grant funds.
Okay, so we're gonna let these hardworking, tax-paying residents try to do this on their own. I don't think that's right, Mr. Alvarado, and so.
They would, that's why they're forming a lake district. They would become a municipality that they could access those funds. But
so what about what's left in our natural resource development fund? Don't we have a fund set aside for dam repair?
Right, do we do access it for, we have a project that we've budgeted money for Fish Trap coming up that we own and maintain.
And how many of these dams do we not know or there's no ownership of? Didn't Jay say 9 or 10 or more?
I don't know how many don't have ownership. We know that we own 7 and there's, I can't remember, between 40 and 50 total dam or dam-like structures in the county. How many of the other 43 are, don't have a responsible party? I don't know that. And we've asked the DNR for that number and they haven't given us one.
Mr. Reagan.
I make a motion to approve the Lake District with honoring all those that want to be removed. So approve the Lake District, but also remove all those that want to be removed.
Can you clarify that? When do they have to make?
You have to wait till there's a second. There's a second.
It was the map plus the the ones you mentioned on the mic.
There's a motion by Mr. Righeimer to make a motion to approve the Lake District and remove all the names that wish to be removed. second by Mr. Buckles.
Yep. And for discussion, we want to make sure that the ones that didn't get notified and were later brought to Liz or Mr. Alvarado, that they're included in that. And that would be like Mr. Vitsinda and all others that weren't aware of it at the time.
Mr. Alvarado.
I'm gonna ask, you heard the motion. I'm gonna make sure corporation counsel jumps in. I wanna make sure because there's the findings of fact and conclusions of law that we might have to amend. So I'd like her to advise on making sure we get the motion and actions right for this.
Ms. Roker.
Sir, good evening, everyone. I want to make sure I understand the motion. It was a motion to approve creation of the district and accepting out all individuals who have requested removal. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. And so since you have that motion on the floor, I would still encourage that the board have a discussion of the findings of fact and conclusions of law that we've previously talked about. The reason being is because your duty under Chapter 33 is very specific. And in creating the district, you must find certain elements that are contained within the statute, and those are in 33.26 sub 3. And those items are also included, in the findings of fact and conclusions of law. So I would encourage the board to do that. The other item you want to make sure, the box that needs to be checked is the creation of the initial district board of commissioners. So if a county creates a lake district under 33.26, it must also appoint the initial board of commissioners for that lake district. And there is a place in the findings and fact and conclusions of law for you to do that. But again, I would highly encourage that you also take that step as you proceed in discussion with your motion.
Thank you. Just a moment. Ms. Wilson has a question. She has her hand up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Andy, could you please put up the map that provides the riparian owners as well? Because I saw that earlier, to make sure that those that have requested removal are not riparian owners, because they are required to be part of the district, if I have my facts correct. Thank you.
So So the hashed area that I put on the map is the lake access, what we call the riparian owners. And then if you wanted me to, then you lay over the red, you can see which ones are have requested removal that are also riparian. Is that what you're asking for, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, because I can see a couple of owners that are riparian that have requested, so I'm not sure that they can be removed. Rebecca, can you answer that question?
Yes, there is no specific line in chapter 33 of the statutes that says a riparian owner must be included in a lake district. However, what is required is that the parcels included be benefited by the establishment of the lake district. So by excluding riparian owners simply because they've requested exclusion, I would encourage the board to really think about whether this element of the statute is met. You know, is there some particular aspect of that parcel, even though it's a riparian parcel, that it's being excluded? So for example, I know that there are parcels that are completely submerged, that are technically riparian parcels, but those would not be benefited by the creation of the district. And riparian owners that are asking for exclusion, I would encourage the board to have a discussion of why their parcels would not be benefited in order to meet the legal standards set forth in 3326 sub 3.
Mr. Duffy.
If there are property owners who aren't on the water that haven't made a request to date, do they have time to get out? Or if they haven't made a request as of today, they're barred, they're in?
Correct. They can always request, once, if you were to go ahead with the motion today, and Corp Counsel can correct me, but if you go ahead with the motion that's on the floor and create the district, any future requests to be removed would have to go through the district.
That's correct. Keep in mind, though, that the board can modify the boundaries this evening. So the board could determine that it's modifying the boundaries in such a way that all non-riparian parcels are excluded. Because, and then again, same analysis of have a discussion of why those parcels would not be benefited by the creation of the district and why all of those other statutory elements can be met. So simply because someone has not requested exclusion does not mean they can't be excluded by the board's action tonight.
Mr. Howick.
I'm curious, besides the dam, what other benefits are these landowners gonna get from creating this? Does anybody know? Because that seems to be the big issue, is the dam. But besides that,
Mr. Albert, can you answer that?
nobody?
That, I'm not gonna take a stab at it. That's kind of an objective question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the petition had some information in there on other activities. But
Is there any way the county could purchase the land that the dam is on and include it like we do all their other dams? It might be a simpler process, and we can involve the people that have been involved here to have some input in that. Is there a way to purchase that?
I mean, the short answer, I guess, is I think there probably is. I mean, I'm sure the DNR wants an owner of record to hold somebody responsible for fixing and all the future maintenance on the dam, so I'm sure they would be happy with that. Technically, we'd have to work with whoever the property, I'm sure there's a legal way to figure out who the property owner is that we'd have to buy it from, but
Yeah.
could you get there? I think you could.
It might simplify things in the long run than creating districts, because I can see this happening in other lakes and there might not be no end to it. Maybe we should just consider following through like we take care of the rest of the dams that we have, like we're doing the Fish Trap Dam and others. You know, you can condemn the property if you have to build a dam, right? I mean, there's process like that too.
Yeah, and I guess that's a consideration the board would have to make, is how involved you want to get, but your statement about it, how it might never end. We don't know how many more dams, or if people own them now and decide that they're going to abandon them. I have no perspective on how many dams that could be or how big, but there is maintenance every year. On the 7 dams we do own, like you heard, Birch Lake, that we jointly own with Washburn County, had $10,000 in repairs coming up this year. There's always ongoing maintenance with them.
Well, this is a very small dam. I don't see it being super costly. It's not much more than building a elevated road somewhere. Most for the most part, it's probably an elevated dirt levee is probably all it is.
Mr. Reagan.
How, besides the non-riparian, how many of those that want out? How are we talking? Because most of them are non-riparian that want out.
Is your question how many are riparian that have requested to be out?
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
And while you're looking that up, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, and a decision I think needs to be made. So I'm looking to, and I'm not understanding from council if, you know, they're thinking that if we include the lake, the ones that are riparian, is that an issue or something? I mean, for sure, the non-riparian, in my opinion, should be excluded.
It looks like there are 6 riparian property owners that have asked for removal.
Out of?
14.
14, okay.
Mr. Buckles.
Yeah, getting back to the dam, that dam is owned, from what I believe, is on a private party. I believe the county wouldn't profit by even thinking about purchasing that dam. There's not even a town road or anything that goes through it. If there's a town road on it, why wouldn't the town pick it up, the dam? So.
Ms. Russell.
Yeah, that was my question. I think at one time it was talked about in our long discussions about what a dam would cost. Can you, because Mr. Magnuson is new, can you remind him of what a dam purchase may cost?
That's hard, yeah, it is hard. I mean, the dams we've repaired, I mean, they've been running 800,000 to 900,000 for the repairs, like at, what we have upcoming at Fish Trap, and then the one we did over in, it's over in the town of Draper, I believe. Loretta, yep. So that's the repair, those aren't replacements. And like Mr. Magnuson said, this is right now, if you've been out there, it's earthen dike with a couple culverts in it. And I'm not an engineer, but when that needs to be replaced, I have no idea if the DNR is gonna allow that style of dam to continue. There's always the potential of requiring it. I know the one recommendation that we did hear from the engineer was that ideally the road and the dam would be separated. So there'd be a dam and then a separate bridge somewhere downstream of it. But I don't know what could happen in the future.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be a public benefit to the county, just like any other project that we do?
Mr. Bennett.
I got a couple questions. One, so we don't have a choice, from my understanding, that we have to vote. We don't get to deny this district. My question is, the people that don't want in, that aren't even touching the water, that we take them out, what stops this district once it's formed to just put them right back in? How do we ensure, do we lose total control once they become a district, that we don't have a say anymore, and then it goes through them, and then they can just lasso these properties again?
I'm gonna let council answer the second question, and I'll let her answer the first one, because you can deny the district. Yeah, so she'll take that. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. The board's role here is to determine whether to create the district, and you can decide yes to create or no to create. And how you come to that decision is by looking at what is in the report and what is in the statutes. Just briefly, let me read these again. So you've got them at the front of your mind. This is what you have to decide. Again, you have to consider the committee's report and all of the evidence to you. Number one, that the petition is signed by the requisite number of owners, that the district is necessary, that the public health, comfort, convenience, necessity, or public welfare will be promoted by the establishment of the district, and that the property included in the district will be benefited by the establishment of the district. And it's that last element, whether the property will be benefited by the district, becomes a real question if you're excluding some riparian owners and not others, just because people asked to be excluded. So we have to, that's where I'm saying look at what are the basis for excluding those riparian owners? How are those riparian owners not benefited by the creation of the Lake District? Is it just because they asked to be accepted out? Or are there other reasons why? Because the statutory intent is that you look at the Lake District as a whole, and you look at how that whole entity, that whole body, really the water body, is going to be benefited. So I think it is hard to come up with a reason as to why to exclude a riparian owner just because they asked to be excluded. I would highly encourage that you look to and develop other reasons why, other than they just asked to.
Mr. Howard.
I just did a search for the word benefited in this petition. And it says they will benefit by establishing the district, but it's not saying what the benefits are. And nobody, I asked that question a minute ago, and nobody on this board could tell me, besides the dam, what the benefits are of this establishing this. Ouch.
Mr. Hellwig, may I,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, may I speak? Mr. Hellwig, one of the other benefits of the Lake District is their approach to treating Eurasian water milfoil in their lake, which is significant. And they've applied for a grant and received a grant, but to continue getting grants from the state.
Mr. Schuman.
Yeah, Chairman, Rebecca, can you answer this? To access state funds for something like this, is ownership actually required by the county or the municipality?
I don't know for sure, because I don't know under what
Yeah.
grant program you're referring to. But generally speaking, yes, it has to be some form of, and when I say municipal ownership, that includes a lake district, in order to access the DNR grant funds.
Then I would request a roll call vote when we come to the vote, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Duffy.
So under this motion, properties that do not touch the water are going to be excluded from the land, from the district.
I'll review. The ones that asked to be removed are the ones that are being removed.
The current motion is the green boundary on the map, less everybody that's red.
So the question I was going to ask Andy then is, if somebody is not on the water and hasn't requested today, but later request, can they get out?
They would have to request through the new Board of Commissioners of the Lake District.
So this board loses control, it's
Yes.
belongs to the district.
Yes.
At the same time, we still have a representative there.
How many properties are there that aren't on the water, that haven't requested to be removed?
I would say I would tell you the primary ones would be this. These big blocks are Wisconsin Conservation Commission, which is the state. The town around Lake has some 40-acre parcels. There's a lot of parcels down here on which are below the dam. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're gonna have, I would guess, 20 to 30 by the time I count all these up.
I don't think we're following the law on the motion to exclude owners that asked just because they asked. According to our attorney, we need to follow the findings and facts of statute 332673, according to what she said. And we cannot just exclude somebody because they asked. That's not legal, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you can, if the board could exclude a property based only on the request to be excluded. What I'm encouraging, though, is that the board develop other reasons for doing so. Because again, the question that the statute presents is whether a parcel is benefited by being included in the district. If the board says, well, we're going to exclude a riparian owner just because they asked to be out, what other benefits are there really of the whole district? And I hesitate to say that because I think, and we can certainly revisit the petition to talk about some of the other benefits of the district that were identified in that petition. And then the other reason being, it is not good practice to create what's called keyholes or puzzle pieces being taken out of a lake district. Again, when you look at the statutory intent of a lake district, it is to work to protect that asset as a whole, that whole piece. And so if you're, plucking certain people out, there has to be a legitimate reason to do so. Again, that's the other reason we don't want keyholes, because it just doesn't jive with what the statutory intent is when creating a lake district.
If
Mr. Righeimer.
Well, a question on my motion, is it clean, and I guess this is the legal, Andy, Chair, is it cleaner than to say, I'm spitballing here, to approve the Lake District excluding all non-riparian, and that eliminates the keyholes, but if you're not on the lake, you're not part of the Lake District. Is that cleaner?
I don't think that's clear from the motion.
No.
I'm asking the attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's cleaner to the extent that I think it's more defensible. I think excluding non-riparian owners makes more sense because non-riparian owners, it's questionable as to more questionable of what benefits they are going to get by the creation of the district.
Okay.
So it's again cleaner from the standpoint of it's
Right, that's what I meant by
legally
cleaner,
defensible.
right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to revise my motion if I can. Okay.
We have someone else that has comment.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Carnahan.
Yeah, I've got a couple of observations here. One is that when you look at the folks who signed the petition, by and large, they are riparian owners or have frontage there. There's a few that don't, but there's very few that don't have frontage. The other thing is there's quite a bit of state land within that original proposed boundary. That land doesn't do anything in terms of financial support of any project the district takes on in the future because there's no tax revenues. State land isn't taxed. So having all that land base there doesn't do any good. So if in my mind, there's a property way up on the north end there, that's, to me, it looks like that's kind of the river flowing into the flowage, and whether you call that riparian or not, I have a hard time seeing that as real frontage. So, and some of the other things that appear like it might be lake frontage, I mean, it might not be very good frontage. So I tend to favor leaving out the original 10 or 12 or whatever who requested removal, leave them out, and just go with your original motion.
Mr. Haney.
I agree. It's like the people that are below that dam, they have no way to get up to the lake. They're on the river. And then the people that are north of Mud Lake, they're on a river, which actually their water is controlled by what we just said, Tiger Cat. if the dam goes, either way, it's not gonna benefit the people that are on the rivers that either lead into the lake or lead out of the lake.
Mr. Duffy?
Does the motion include non-riparian owners?
Yes.
So no, if you aren't on the water, you're not in the.
If you're
district.
asked to have your name removed,
Oh, okay, but then you've added that, if they haven't asked, but they're off the water.
pardon?
If they haven't asked, they haven't requested as of today,
Correct. That
but
they'll
they're
have-
still off the water.
They'll have to take a different procedure to get off the list.
But the problem is, there's no incentive for the Lake District to let anybody off once they're in.
Well, we've
I wouldn't
done,
think, I mean.
we've done our due diligence trying to figure best we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so now everybody's had a speak. Are we ready to vote? The motion is to remove all the people that have asked to be removed by Mr. Righeimer and second by Mr. Buckles. Ms. Wilson?
You have to add that non-riparian, right? No?
Are we missing anything?
Nope, that is the current motion on the floor, is to remove the properties that have requested removal.
Liz, we're gonna have a roll call vote.
Sir,
Yes?
Mr. Chairman, is it anticipated that the motion is going to include the findings of fact and conclusions in law and decision and order that was previously prepared, because those are required? I mean, I encourage the board to consider those, and you need to have, the statutes require that you take action by order. And so that legal element needs to be included. We should clarify that your motion includes that statutory element.
Rebecca, is your recommendation that it's all part of the same motion then? Is that what you were saying?
It can be, but I want to make very clear, or I want to make sure that the maker of the motion and the seconder, and the motion includes the findings of fact and conclusions of law in decision and order that has been presented to you. If not, then I would just encourage the maker of the motion to clarify that the effect of the motion or the action is in order to create the Lake District as presented. And then as modified by the board with respect to the boundaries. And then we also have the issue of the initial Board of Commissioners. I highly encourage that the board appoint that initial Board of Commissioners, because again, it is required by the statutes at the time of the order creating the district, which is what you're about to vote on.
Mr. Helwig?
If we put in that motion that the reason would be that it's not gonna benefit those properties, because that's one of your lawful things in
Facts of finding conclusion.
facts, thank you, correct?
I think you're correct. I think add that to it,
I think that would cover it.
excluding the properties that want out because it's not benefiting their properties.
Help me out here now. When she states the facts finding inclusion of the law, she wants that added in the motion.
Yes.
And we do that by how?
I think the person making the motion has amended the district to, and as described, with eliminating the properties that have requested removal, and it approves the findings of fact and conclusions. Let's see here. That the board at the time of approving the district has to establish the there's a 5-person initial Board of Commissioners that start the district, and then they're re-elected, or there's an election held with the first annual meeting of the Lake District. 3 of those members, excuse me, one member is appointed by the town. It either has to be a person that's a member of the town board or was within the district. The county will have one appointment from the Land and Water Committee, Forestry Committee, and the other three are have to be property owners within the district, and one has to be a resident of the district. Hang on. It's one or two have to be members of the district.
For the boards, for this board's creation of the initial district board, it has to be one, so 3 property owners, at least one of whom is a resident of the district.
All right.
So it can be all 3, but it has to be at least one.
And so I do have a couple names for you to consider that have requested, should the district be formed, to be on the Board of Commissioners. I have 4 names that I'm aware of. Lynn Amundson, who you've seen in public comment, is one of the petitioners. Rhonda Isold, Holly Robbins, and Ray Schnepp. Should the motion go through, Ms. Isold would not have a property in the district. So I would recommend that the 3 to start the district be Ray Schnepp, Lynn Amundson, and Holly Robbins.
And for the county, we have Ms. Kay Wilson, she's in the district.
And then we have to notify the town within so many days, and then they have to go through a process to appoint the 5th commissioner.
Yes.
Back to Rebecca, I thought if I understood, if we change, if whoever brought the motion forward, if we change it so we don't keyhole, that we take off all property that doesn't benefit, so i.e. all property that is not directly on the water, that then legally that is better withstanding than what we're having. Is that what you said about the keyholing?
That's right. But my understanding is that the motion on the floor currently, it does result in keyholing because it excludes those parcel owners who have requested removal.
So Rebecca, have we covered all the requirements before our vote?
As long as the motion includes the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision, and then we can specifically, obviously, modify these to reflect the decision of the board tonight. And if you are all fine with Mr. Alvarado's recommended initial commissioners, we can include those as well.
Chairman, is this a super majority vote or just a simple majority?
Simple majority.
So Mr. Righeimer, are you ready to?
I thought I did.
Well, I was gonna ask, what is the motion currently?
The motion is to approve the Lake District, removing all those that requested to be removed because those properties aren't benefited by the Lake District. Findings of facts. I don't have the listing of the legalese in front of me, but that's the gist. If that's
So in that motion, properties that are off the water, that haven't requested, are not affected. They're in the district.
if they have not requested, correct.
What they do later.
And everybody here tonight that said they didn't want to bid, that's part of that. Okay.
I believe it should be what the clerk and Mr. Alvarado have in writing that want out of that district, and the ones that have won out that are not, did not supply something, you know, then they gotta go through the channels.
But it sounds like there's but the people here tonight that stated that, it sounds like some of them felt like they weren't notified. And then they said that this was their notification. I think hopefully it's okay that we'd accept those.
They're on here.
Oh,
It was
okay.
updated at 3 o'clock today.
Okay, it sounded to me like some were saying like they weren't aware of it, so they're stating it right
Yeah.
here tonight.
Yeah, the ones that stated that at public comment, they are on the list.
Gotcha, okay, understood, then we're good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if we vote and to deny this, we can then do another motion to approve the Lake District and exclude those non-riparian landowners. Correct?
The potential's there, but the first step is to take care of the business that's on the floor.
Yes, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
In the motion, let's clarify, the facts, finding, conditions of the law and decision also has to list the names of the board that we had put together, which Andy has shared with, okay? This clarifying the motion.
All right, I hate to complicate this, but I didn't know exactly when to bring this up. So Sawyer County owns some of the parcels within the district. They're all underwater. They're in red in the middle of the map. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. If you wanted them removed, you could remove those as well. But I don't want anybody asking about this after the fact. If you're fine with them in, then just leave it as is.
So we're paying a tax.
We wouldn't get taxed, but there'd be the potential of a special assessment if they were to do a special assessment.
So besides Kay's comment on what we could do after, we could also motion to deny the whole works, correct? That's the other option. Okay, thank you. And we could deny the whole.
If you approve the motion, you're approving the, yes.
As is.
If you turn it down, then you could go on to do other things, yes.
Would it be wise to ask Sawyer counties to be removed? Past the court council.
If they levy a tax, we're not gonna get levied. If they do a special assessment, there could be costs incurred by the county. We're also in there with the town of Round Lake and the state of Wisconsin. They also have, their parcels are not underwater like ours are, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that before you voted.
I don't believe the county actually requested not to be on the list, though.
That's why I'm bringing it up now, in case you wanted to do that request.
And we haven't voted yet. Do we want to remove
Right.
Sawyer counties?
I know, it came up at the committee meeting. The county does own those parcels, so I want to make sure you didn't forget about that.
I will revise it to remove the Sawyer County portion as well.
And I, my second, be okay with that.
All right.
Can we get this into a good motion that can be written down because it's all over?
Yeah, we can do that. You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Righeimer, second by Mr. Buckles, to remove anybody that's asked to be removed from the Lake District and approve the Lake District. The facts, finding conclusions, and the law and the decision. And then we're gonna list the name of the board that would be put together, or supervisors, whichever you care. The county representative would be Miss Kay Wilson. Mr. Alvarado has 3 other names, and they are.
Lynn Amundson, Ray Schneck, Holly Robbins. One more time. Lynn Amundson, Ray Schneck, Holly Robbins.
And Sawyer
Schnepp.
County was removed from it, well.
Yes. Do you want to read it back so we can clarify it?
Okay, the motion is to remove everyone who asked and Sawyer County parcels and approve the Lake District, the findings of fact and conclusions of law, and appoint the 5-member initial board of the Lake District with Lynn Amundson, Holly Robbins, Ray Schnapp, the 1 board member from the Land and Water Committee, Kay Wilson, and then ask the town of Round Lake to notify them to appoint a board member.
Okay, we missed 1 word. Under the finding of facts, conclusion of law and decision. The word and decision, please.
Okay.
And then it'll be a roll call vote.
Oh, right, and you want to say who doesn't benefit? You want that reason in there.
Yeah.
Motion to remove everyone who asked plus the Sawyer County parcels because they do not benefit, and approve the Lake District findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision, and appoint the initial 5-member board as listed previously. Does that sound right?
Yes. You agree? Do you agree?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Did you
Roll call
type that?
vote.
Are you getting that?
Rebecca, did you hear the motion and are you comfortable with it?
The only clarification I would make is that the reference to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision of order will be modified to the extent that it will incorporate the board's current motion in the decision tonight. Because the draft that you have in front of you was obviously drafted before tonight. So when that findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision in order are finalized, it will be reflective of your decision tonight. And I think that was understood, but that was my only point that I thought warranted further clarification.
When you're ready, Liz.
And approve the Lake District with the modified findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Well, remove all properties that have requested approval in the Sawyer County parcels citing they do not benefit from the creation of the Lake District, and approve the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision modified to the extent to reflect the board action. And the initial Board of Commissioner appointments will be Lynn Amundson, Ray Schnapp, Holly Robbins, and Kay Wilson.
Yeah, the town of Radisson, or town board member.
Yep. Town of Round Lake will appoint a 5th.
Okay. Can you give me that?
Yep.
Not now, I mean whenever.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay, we're gonna take a roll call vote. Roll call vote, Steve Carrienan,
Yes.
Kay Wilson,
No.
Tweed Schuman,
No.
Stacy Hessel,
Yes.
Randy Newman, absent, Mark Helwig, Tom Duffy, Marshall Savitsky,
Yes.
Jim Evans,
Yes.
Chuck Van Etten, Jeff Haney, John Righeimer,
Yes.
Ron Kinsley,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Dale Magnuson.
No.
Okay,
I have 8 to 6.
8 yes, 6 no.
Motion carries. Thank you. And I apologize to the audience taking so long, but we try to make sure we get it right. Number 11, zoning committee report.
I'm gonna wait.
We're just waiting a moment. Well, thank you for your help. Go ahead, Ron. We're gonna have the zoning report now.
Okay, the zoning committee will hold its monthly public hearing tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. The last month's meeting committee had heard 10 conditional use permits, which one was tabled and several others included renewals of existing gravel pits. There was no rezone applications. The multi-dwelling development ad hoc committee has conducted their 4th meeting earlier today. It is anticipated that a few more additional meetings will be needed to finalize the scope of the work, which will be presented to the zoning committee as part of the ordinance amendment process. Once the zoning committee gets through the multi-dwelling development process. There will be several other anticipated ordinance amendments that will be presented, including dates to citation ordinances, state model shoreland ordinances, and potential floodplain ordinance amendments. And that ends my report. I just have one other quick thing. Tomorrow, zoning committee members, she's gonna be a long one. Bring lunch. That ends my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Number 12, Public Works Committee, Mr. Howick.
Okay, Public Works Committee meeting, Maintenance Department. A report was provided by Mr. Hagberg. Maintenance has been moving along on courthouse building projects. The sleeping quarters in the Hayward Ambulance Building are now being used. The Sawyer County Airport report, written report was provided by Mr. Leslie, advised the committee on upcoming airport project, waiting for BOA funding to develop the airport layout plan. The spring runway project will begin when the road bans are lifted. There is a pre-construction meeting for airport stakeholders on April 2nd. Snow removal equipment will be coming in. Mr. Leslie is attending an annual airport seminar that the board members are welcome to attend. Highway Department, Commissioner Pinal updated the committee on current road projects. Brushing, patching are underway. The crew hauled Berkey snow and will be reimbursed by the Berkey organization for their work. 2 FLAP grants for work on County S and GG will be submitted. Jump River is hosting an electrical safety class for road workers. Mr. Alvarado reported that the MOU to maintain Pipestone Tower has expired and needs to be renewed. No changes were recommended and has been signed by the town of Radisson, and we will vote on that this evening. Then we had 2 closed sessions, no action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Letter B, Pipestone Tower MOU with the town of Radisson, Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, as Mr. Hellwig mentioned, this was reviewed and approved by the Public Works Committee. So this is down, I guess, to the east of Radisson. There's a town road that, it's the Pipestone Tower Road. At the end of it is a tower that we have, the county owns on private land. We lease land to have a tower there. And this agreement was made 5 years ago with the town to have the county take over maintenance of that road, since it really just services our tower. And they poured us any road aids money they received. So this is just re-upping the agreement for another 5-year period. And will continue on after 5 years unless terminated by one of the parties.
Mr. Howick.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Howick, second by Mr. Van Etten to approve the MOU with the town of Radisson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Howick. Number 13, Public Safety Committee report, Mr. Buckles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Emergency services report and ambulance billing. Mr. Fremmel presented the ambulance runs and ambulance calls per town reports. Calls are down. City and the town of Hayward continue to have most calls. There was also a town of Edgewater and town of Sand Lake. Mr. Baraboo and Mr. Langham come in representing Sand Lake and town of Edgewater. Came to speak on the committee about the ambulance service, and the subject was tabled until Attorney Kelsey arrived. And then it come back. Where did I lost it? Discussing on the Sawyer County ambulance coverage. Edgewater and Sand Lake resumed with Attorney Kelsey speaking on behalf of the towns, asking for first steps to look into the future solutions. The town would like to contract with Birchwood Four Corners and reduce the tax levy they pay Sawyer County Ambulance Service. The committee reviewed the potential issues with a proposal. Mr. Baraboo discussed conflicts between crews responding to an incident scene. The committee discussed it and concluded that they can be avoided with better communication and understanding of protocol. Mr. Fremmel questioned the liability of relying on volunteer and paid on-call services versus full-time staff service with guaranteed response. Lieutenant Rapinski give us a patrol report. Chief Sedera give us a jail report. The code enforcement specialist written with provided by Ms. Olson calls for dogs large continue to be high, and Ms. Olson is working on policies for the enforcement of the tourist rooming house ordinance. Emergency Management Director Rapinski gave a report on the Berkey and a well-attended disaster training with town officials and stated this dispatch call volume is down, and the public safety radio network, GenCom, is working on the system design, exploring the building and leasing options. The county is waiting for the tribal governing board to make a decision on potential lease of the space on the WOJB tower. Plan B options include towers in Pipestone or New Post and possible Loretta in the future. The plan should be ready for the April Public Safety Committee meeting. A child report was given. I'm gonna leave the Criminal Justice Coordinating one, Andy. And that ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Letter B, court funding resolution, Mr. Abrao.
Thank you. This was brought forward from our clerk of court through the Wisconsin County Court Clerks Association. It's also initiated one of the priorities for WC in the budget process going on right now. Basically what this says is that the counties are bearing more and more of the burden for the cost of the circuit court. We collect fees and fines and send most of that to the state, which offsets their cost. So when we have increase like a second courtroom or additional staff, the majority of that falls on the counties, even though the circuit court is effectively a subunit of the state to being under the state Supreme Court. And so some of the numbers you see cited in here, the cost to run the circuit courts was $237 million, and the amount that the state actually forwarded to counties for that was $28 million. So only 12% of the actual cost. And every year that gets worse as the county costs go up, and the state still pretty much is flat as to the amount they pay to the counties to run the court. So this is asking the state, the governor and the legislature to appropriate $70 million payable to the counties to increase the state support for the circuit court system throughout Wisconsin.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Ms. Hessel to approve the court funding resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 14, Health Human Services Board, Mr. Haney.
This is the minutes from the March 11th meeting of Health and Human Services. Outside committee reports, LCO liaison, Mrs. Lyons reported that the health center is opening in mid-April. Senior Resource Center, we had no updates. Administration, the acronym glossary will be added to the website. The department had an employee appreciation week with a Mardi Gras theme. Health and Human Services is watching the federal government for potential cuts to budget areas. Aging and Disability Resource Center, a written report was provided. Rose Elliott's position is open and a new specialist is needed for senior care programs. Behavioral Health, written reports on programs were provided and reviewed by Ms. Lyons. Mobile Crisis was quiet last month but has picked up recently. Mental Health expenses and expenses by client had no significant changes. The county pays $806,360 per year to maintain care of 4 clients and placement facilities. Children, Youth, and Family Services, a written report was provided with nothing outstanding to discuss. Youth justice was quiet with 0 new referrals in January, 30 ongoing cases. Children in care, written report included a 5-year comparison table for 2020 to 2024. Youth division still has an opening for a specialist. The department also currently has 2 Serona recovery staff funded by a federal grant for up to 4 years, working with the youth side of Justice Point on division and truancy issues. A goal of the department is to share combined messaging with the tribe and the county on the importance of home, family, and school attendance. A copy of the 161 Act language was provided for information and reference. Economic support, Ms. White provided and reviewed a written report on food share and other programs. There has been an increase in walk-ins, and the call center has 7,882 calls in January. Citizens are concerned about benefit cuts, but as of this date, no cuts have been made to Medicaid or food share programs. Public health, a written report was provided. Mrs. McCollum stated that respiratory illness have declined in the past month. Fiscal written reports were provided and reviewed by Ms. Lyons. The budget performance and revenue reports had no significant changes to report. The purchased services report shows 2 lines of overspent funds, but Ms. Lyons noted that this is grant funds. It was agreed to watch for federal cuts that may affect funding or portions of the budget. Board appointed committee updates. WCA Human Services Day is March 27th in Madison. Ms. Lyons, Ms. McCollum, and 2 law enforcement officers will be visiting several New Mexico jails next week on a grant to explore their MAT programs. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. Number 15, finance report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on March 13th. Started out with a report from Mr. Lehner regarding the February settlement was received from all municipalities for a total of $7.3 million, and there are currently 418 tax delinquent parcels. The finance report, sales tax reports compared month over a 6-year period with 25 coming in higher overall monthly. 24 and 25 general budget performance reports were reviewed. There was a surplus of revenue and lower expenses at the end of 24 in the general fund. February CIP purchases totaled $35,619,000 for ambulance and IT work. Mr. Markin presented a proposal to allocate surplus funds to balanced department budgets. And a motion to approve the resolution designating fund balance and forward to the county board was approved. Financial updates. Mr. Markin provided a proposed annual schedule of department financial reports and brought the committee up to date on the reports as follows. So get ready for some long list of numbers. Ambulance, this is for January, ambulance 24, 91% of revenues, and they were 89% of expenses compared to 25. Right now, we're 11% revenue, 17% expenses. The EMSMC report, ambulance billing, collections, and losses were reviewed in detailed reports from EMSMC. These reports will be presented now on a quarterly basis going forward. Back to the numbers for administration in 24, they were 92% of expenses, and wellness was 45% of expenses. 25, administration was 18% of expenses, and wellness was 4% of expenses. So in 24, that administration was 92% of expenses. I think I forgot to label that. Finance was 96% expenses in 24, 14% in 25. Human resources, 95% expenses in 24, 12% is the 12% thus far in 25. For February, land records, 24 was 68% of revenue, 97% of expenses. In 25, there's 0% revenue, 19% of expenses. For the surveyor, 24 was 60%, I'm sorry, 606%, is that a right number?
Yeah, there's a lot of,
I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, no, the revenues are something we'll take a look at in future budgets, but they had a lot of subdivision review.
They're doing really well.
Yep.
103% of expenses, in 25, 114% of revenue, 16% of expenses. Zoning in 24, 90% of revenue, 87% expenses. In 25, 15% revenue, 12% expenses. In forestry in 24, 119% of revenue, 145% expense. In 25, 0% revenues and 7% expense. For March, Health and Human Services in 24, 89% revenue, 105% expense. In 25, 7% revenue, 14 expenses. Mental health report in 24 was 2.7 million in expenses. Youth justice report in 24, 35 ongoing cases. HHS year-over-year analysis table showing budget versus annual expense was presented. Child support, 24, 69% revenue, 7% expenses, and 25, 27% revenue, 17% expenses. A January investment report was given. Interest rates are going down. Our 9 million in CDs are performing well. ARPA, opioid settlement, and LATCF fund balances were presented. Mr. Alvarado presented a plan to draft contracts for 4 agencies to formalize the county's relationship. Those agencies are EDC, Sawyer County Fair, Hayward Lakes Visitors Convention Bureau, and SRC for discussion. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Letter B, resolution designated funds, Mr. Alvarado.
I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Markin.
Good job of passing the buck.
Excuse the squeaky. Sawyer County had a good year in 24. We saw excessive interest revenue again, investment income, about 550,000 over budget, which was really, really strong last 2 years. Some of the other things that we saw come in, there was some state aid for non-taxable tribal properties that was kind of a one-time thing that we weren't expecting. Stumpage was amazing, over $800,000 over budget for projected revenue, so that was a really, really strong year. Some of the other things, a few other departments did well, Circuit Court, Register of Deeds and Zoning, so that shows there's still a lot of activity going on in Sawyer County, which is good news. And then on the expense side, some of the places that we've saved, one thing I want to mention, we have not done any transfers yet. There was a budgeted $600,000 transfer to HHS and a budgeted $150,000 to highway. And I've got some different numbers that are recommended to transfer there. And the sheriff's department did well. And a lot of that was in the jail. We didn't have to ship out inmates as we had in the past. So that saved us some money. And then another thing is across the board for health insurance, we had in there budgeted 5%, knowing that we were gonna have a good year. Well, after we negotiated, we got it down to 0. So that came in after the budget was set, but it was really good. So since I've been here, we've had a 2.5% increase, -5, so we went back 5% and then flat this year, which is really, really good in this environment for the cost of healthcare. So all that added up, we have a nice surplus, and the recommendations of what to do with that are as follows. The first one is sales tax. We established last year that anything above budget for sales tax, we're gonna put in assigned fund balance for years when maybe we don't hit budget in sales tax. It has been growing rapidly until 24. We saw less than a 0.5% increase over 23. So it had been increasing rapidly. It's kind of leveled out now. So we kind of have that as a safeguard in case we don't meet budget. And assigned means the board could easily move it out of there too if we needed it for something else, but that's why we established that fund. So that's something we started last year. The amount this year would be $159,106.93. And then the next one is ambulance. And what we do with any surplus for ambulance is we put that in assigned fund balance. The amount from 24, which is $48,062.35, that will go against the 26 levy. So that will reduce our ambulance levy by that amount, about $53,000. And then The transfers we're recommending are instead of the $150,000 to highway, we would recommend $750,000. Highway, like, the books aren't quite closed yet. We're getting very, very close. The one thing we don't have with highway is the depreciation amount. We get that from our auditor. And I'm projecting that to be about $450,000. And then beyond that, fund balance for highway looks really great, but all of that is due to the equipment. So we would have to sell equipment to actually have cash on hand. The unassigned fund balance is negative $300,000. So the $450,000 for the depreciation plus that $300,000 to make highway whole comes up to the $750,000 we're recommending. And then moving on to HHS, there was that budgeted transfer of $600,000, and then we're going to pull some from HHS fund balance to make up their structural deficit for '24. Ended up doing a little worse than what our budget was, and that is due to youth justice. We had a lot of placements, either out of county or foster care, that were way, way above what we had budgeted, way beyond what we had done in the past. There's been some shifting in that department and focusing on doing the best for our kids in Sawyer County, so that ended up costing a little more. The good news, it was offset a little bit by adult out-of-county placements weren't as high as they had been running. But still, we did run a little bit negative from what we had projected. They do have a structural deficit for '25 as well. So the recommendation is that we make them hold more out of the fund balance that we have in the general fund from the surplus from '24. So instead of $600,000, we're recommending $1.3 million. We did that 3 years ago too, when there was a high year of adult out of county placements. So that's not totally dissimilar from what we done in the past. That would leave their fund balance at about 2 million, a little over 2 million, which everything we're doing is trying to get ourselves in a healthy position for the future. I always say any recommendations we make is looking 5 years down the road. 5 years down the road, we're not gonna be able to count on $1 million in interest income every year. We can't count on stumpage being $800,000 over budget, and sales taxes leveled off. So those are things that have, since Andy and I have been here, we've been blessed to have those three things coming in. We can't count on that in the future, so we're setting ourselves up for the future. And then the final transfer I'm recommending is $85,000 from surplus stumpage revenue into the Resource Development Fund to cover the $85,000 that was approved last month for that temporary bridge. The reason we're taking out of stumpage ultimately is it's really going to help with bidding for stumpage in the future, because if we did not have that temporary bridge where it's going, it would create a longer loop for trucking, which would probably affect the prices on our bids. I don't know for sure. Do you have an idea, Andy?
I think the markets have been stable. They haven't gone down, and they're getting in the woods and cutting the sales. You know, for a time when if the markets aren't good, they'll let sales sit because they can wait up to 3 years. But it seems as if they're getting in there, taking the wood out, even if the prices aren't great, to generate revenue. The downside for us is that we used to maintain a decent sized book of sale, and our book of sale is I guess lower than what we normally would have because they are cutting so much.
So we could feel it potentially this year. I noticed that too. We're getting revenue that's up to 3 years old, the bookings are. And we had a great year last year,
Yeah, and I should say the good news too is like the spring sales the last few years have been good. So we're still, when we're putting sales out for bid, they're getting bought. We're not getting a lot of no sales. So you want to keep an eye on that in April, May, whenever they do the spring sale, to make sure that we're selling the sales we're putting out there.
Magnus.
So what you're telling us is Southern Sawyer County is really helping support the budget, correct?
Probably.
Ms. Hessen.
I make a motion, are you finished? Can I make a motion? Okay, all right, I just didn't want to interrupt because you did a really great job at finance too, so resolution to designate and transfer general fund balance. I make that motion.
I'll second. I'll second.
A motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Ringheimer to approve the resolution of designated funds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Thank you.
Number 16, economic development, UW Extension.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on March 10th. Started out with the University of Wisconsin Extension Department report. Donna Nucky introduced Emily Berger from UW Extension to speak about the Youth in Governments program. Students in this program, students can participate in county board meetings to learn about government. The committee will move the idea forward with draft applications and rules. Economic Development Corporation gave a report. Mr. Lamoro reported on job creation, business incubator numbers, a video project to promote living and working in Sawyer County, future EDC fundraisers to have matching grant funds on hands, a sponsorship drive, and consulting work with local businesses. The University of Wisconsin Extension Board came back in the meeting with Mrs. Bellatrus, joined the meeting and updated the committee on the upcoming Government Day, which would provide an opportunity to reach out to students for interest in the Youth Governments program. So we're kind of back to that governance program. Mr. Kevin Shisawa is retiring after serving Sawyer, Burnett, and Washburn counties at the Spooner Ag Department, and strategic planning is awaiting next steps. Ms. LaRue gave a motorized trail report, provided a written report on the snowmobile, ATV, UTV trail conditions that was read to the committee. Mr. Duffy reported a successful Berkey of 13,000 racers and 25,000 spectators participated. The event brought in an estimated $5 million on race weekend and $30 million annually to Sawyer County. Broadband update was provided by Mr. Alvarado. Reported that all the BEAD endorsements were submitted last week. And then, like in finance, contracts for services with external organizations, drafts of contracts between Sawyer County, Hayward Lakes Visitors Bureau, SRC, the Fair, and the EDC are in progress to formalize the relationship with the county. Services and payments will be outlined to provide a mechanism for assessing performance between the parties. That ends my report.
Thank you. The next item is 17. We're gonna go to 18. We have the gentleman virtual, and he's from the company of PAA. John, are you available?
Mr. Chairman, I am available.
Thank you.
Want me to go or?
All right, so at the administrative committee meeting, we interviewed the company of PAA to help us with the process of replacing our administrator. I received a letter of resignation from our administrator, Strandy Alvarado, and I wish him the best for the future and coming to him. He's done a wonderful job for us. So now on the agenda is the company of PAA to help us along with the process of finding a new administrator. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know that I believe that the county board members have a copy of our proposal in front of you. Not sure how long you've had a chance to take a look at this, but the process that we have is very similar to what we had 3 years ago when the county hired Andy. Our prices did go up a little bit, so I'll talk a little bit about prices. Typically, our prices, depending on the deductions that the counties take, end up being somewhere between $20,000 and about $23,000. We decided that some of the documents that we used 3 years ago, we can update and reuse, so it gave us a little bit of a head start. So we are willing to drop $1,000 off the top price immediately. There's also the ability to have, and we recommend, if it works for the county, the first 2 meetings be held virtually. So we had a kickoff meeting last week with the committee, with the understanding that if the county board didn't approve our proposal, there would be no cost to the county. Part of the reason that we met last week is I spoke with the chairperson, and we decided that it was in the best interest of the county to fill the position as quickly as we could. Therefore, we held a meeting last week on the 13th. with the understanding that the proposal would go to the county board this evening. If the proposal is approved this evening, then on March 25th, the committee would approve the documents that we put in place, the job description, the job announcement, the brochure that we did last time. We'll update that. We'll have to talk about a salary range and a few other things. But if that's all approved on March 25th, we would have ads placed on the next day. If the committee met on March 25, we would start advertising on March 26th. And then looking at the timeline, we would have the recruitment to open on March 26th and close on April 28th. We always suggest going at least a month. If we did that by May 2nd, I could have a report to you, to the committee, with the information on all the candidates, and we would rank them from highly qualified to qualified and not qualified. We would do Zoom videos on those applicants that we think are the highest rated ones. And when the committee meets, if they decide they want us to do more interviews with some in that second tier, we're willing to do that. We're saying that either May 8th or 9th, I believe the committee selected May 9th, that we would select the finalist, and then those finalists would be invited to come in for a day-and-a-half interview, or what we call an assessment, on May 19th and 20th. We would use the following week to negotiate the contract. The committee would establish the parameters for PAA to negotiate the contract with your next administrator. And by the last week of May, we should be able to have a special county board meeting if necessary to approve and confirm the appointment of the next administrator. So that's the timeline. There's a couple things, like I said, in the costs. We do a deduction, and we base this on mileage as well. We do a deduction of $500 each for the first 2 meetings if the county is willing to do those virtually. We also have something that we've done new, and Andy went through this in Chippewa County, and we just had another county that used it as well, and this is emotional intelligence testing. And if you'd like, you can ask Andy questions about that. But it takes a look at the issues such as their decision-making ability, their ability to get along with others. It points out their strengths and weaknesses. It talks about how successful that person will be with the county. It also talks about the resources that could be made available to make the candidate more successful in the future. And it also helps decide whether or not this candidate or this finalist is the best fit for the county. So we have been making this available. It is the county's option whether you want to move forward with that or not. If the county decides not to move forward with emotional intelligence, that would be another deduction of $1,900. So I can tell you that the last 2 counties that we did most recently was Chippewa and Richland. They both did the emotional intelligence piece. They thought it was very beneficial and very helpful for them. And we don't need to make a decision on that this evening. That can be done later in the process, whether you want to include it or not include it. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think most of the board members are familiar with the process that we used last time. So I'll leave it at that if there's any questions.
Thank you. Does the board understand where we're at? We're going through to hire a company to help us through the process of pick up an administrator. And we need to vote on that tonight. Questions, concerns? Mr. Buckles?
I make a motion to hire a public administrator associates / PAA to look for a administrator for Sawyer County.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mr. Righeimer. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, the board, for choosing us to help you.
Thank you. We'll back up to number 17, County Administrator's Report. Thank you, Mr. Alvarado.
Just, you should have received an assessment as part of the recruitment process from Rose, that she'll be gathering those up and turning those over to PAA. So if you haven't returned that, please do so, and that helps with the process. Report personnel, we're starting to see a little pickup in activity, nothing extraordinary. Over the winter, we really settled into getting a lot of our positions filled. So ambulance, we have a couple positions just because of the shuffling with moving some of our EMTs, AMTs into paramedics and backfilling their spots with new full-timers that were on our part-time role. We still have an opening in the real property lister area, which is of Rachel's move to the Register of Deeds position. The Zoning and Conservation Administrative Assistant is the new position that was created this year, is advertising for openings. Deputy Clerk of Court has a position open as a result of one of the deputies becoming the judicial assistant for Judge Yackel. Anna Amparo left us to go work for LCO. And then we have an opening in the Highway Department right now, as well as Adult Protective Services due to retirement. So a little bit of churn there, but sitting pretty good in all those major departments. Ordinance, Corporation Council work. You heard a little bit earlier about the tax deed process. We need to revise how we do things as a result of Act 207 and 216. So we did bring that to the Land Water Committee, working with the new treasurer. They want to incorporate into the ordinance the change from a 5-year. And I don't know the history, but historically Sawyer County has waited until the 5 years tax delinquent before they go through the interim process to take the land. We're going to move that. 3 is the minimum by statute that you can do it. You have to issue a tax certificate, and then you have 2 years. So we're going to put right in the ordinance that it's going to be a 3-year process. There is a class action lawsuit related to the tax deed. There's a court case a few years ago in Hennepin County, which resulted in the changes to the state statute. And now there's a class action lawsuit in Wisconsin against the state and all the counties. And this is happening in other states as a result of that, where basically part of the change is that any proceeds from the sale of tax deed lands have to be returned to the prior owner, and we have to try and make best efforts to track down the prior owner. So I believe this class action is trying to go back for any tax deed actions that were taken pre-lawsuit to try to recover those funds from counties. So all the counties have turned those over to their insurance companies as their liability, and that's collectively being worked on to address. Also, if you haven't heard about the GOAT committee, it's an assembly committee here in Wisconsin that's new. It's the Government Operations Accountability and Transparency. Just if you've maybe heard some of this in the news, but the county did receive a records request from I think this is the vice chair of the committee, looking for information related to DEI. And that is any money we're spending on DEI, positions that we've created, trainings that we're doing, that type of thing. And we started working on that. I mean, honestly don't have much of anything to return, but there's some negotiating or work being done between the committee and Wisconsin counties to try to clarify that request and respond to what they're looking for. But that is taking a little bit of time to identify, because part of it's just a word search, looking for diversity, equity, inclusion, and the word belonging in any of our materials. But that is ongoing. Lake District petition's taken up quite a bit of time. We do have a sizable open records request now for information related to the Callahan and Mud Lake Dam. Not the petition, but just anything that we have in our files related to the construction of the dam, the inspection of the dam, ownership of the dam. So we think we've identified those and we'll be responding. And then we are working on Act 235 implementation, which is the judge shielding law, where personal identifying information on any judge, and there's a whole list of what qualifies, what types of judges, how we go if a judge comes and wants us to hide or conceal that information, how we have to go about doing that in any public-facing databases or information. So that's involving a few departments and coming up with some policy on how we'll handle those requests. You heard the airport, the contracts are signed for the runway reconstruction. That'll happen this spring, hopefully. As soon as spring road bans are off, I believe they have a 15-day time period to start the project. So we do have a pre-construction meeting coming up to get all the contractors on board with the state and the engineer. We have been awarded snow removal equipment in the last state bid, which was a good thing for the airport. It'll really increase our capacity. They've identified the low bidder. They have not awarded the contract, but it's the full kit of a new end loader, a plow, snow blower, and broom. So it's gonna be almost a $500,000 piece of equipment, and our match is gonna come in at about 10,000. So the remainder is federal FAA funds. So that's a really good thing. I wanted to point out something we don't always talk about. I haven't reported, but it has come up as a question. So we have a airport manager who's Hayward Aviation. Then we have another contract for the fixed base operation of the airport, which is also Hayward Aviation. Part of the FBO contract is that they have to pay us a percentage of their sales. Anything they do with car rental, hangar rental, catering, we get a 15% of that revenue. And then we get 12.6 cents, I believe it is, a gallon off of fuel sales. So the income from the FBO contract in '24 was $56,264. That was up from $51,000 the year before, and up from $40,000 the year prior. So that amount's been increasing, and that offsets our tax levy for owning and operating the airport. Nothing new on the master plan, just that we're aware that it is being delayed because they're waiting for FAA to provide information on traffic at the airport, and that has not come in yet. Ambulance, we provide information to the consultant that's working with I think 7 towns on reviewing the ambulance, EMS type of work. And we're, I guess, hoping to see what information comes out of that study that might help us in deciding how to run the county ambulance service. Like I mentioned, our staffing has much improved. Just a little bit of shuffling. We are working on, or I should say John, director, is working on some options for flexible response locations. There's been requests from, you heard about Sand Lake and Edgewater to remove themselves from our service, which they can contract with whoever they want, but we cannot, are unable to not levy for them. There's also been the request in the Round Lake area to establish another permanent base in that area. That's costly as well. So he's working up some ideas to take to the towns and the fire departments about being able to locate in certain areas of the county and certain times of the year when calls go up in those locations, and using the fire halls potentially as a temporary basis. And then we also went to the last County Fire Association meeting to talk to them about lift assist and some of their concerns on how those are getting billed for and what support we can provide to the fire departments that show up when our ambulance personnel need help on working with patients. Nothing really new on the BEAD. The broadband, the BEAD applications are in. There might be a little bit of holdup on that funding since it's coming from the federal government. We're waiting to hear on that. And then we do have 2 projects that are close to closing out that the county funded with ARPA funds a few years ago. So we still have 2 projects with Norvado and one with BevCom that are getting wrapped up so we can disperse those funds. We do understand that in regards to the public safety radio system project that LCO and the TGB are considering our request to locate on the WOJB tower and also renewing the CJCC MOU. We did discuss the MOU at CJCC and public safety that's expired, and our wish is to have it renewed. Are not looking for any changes. CJCC also got an update on the opioid funds and how they've been used and what those funds continue to come in, and they're putting together the next requests for funds, the next steps of their program. The other things, we sent HHS Director Julia Lyons and the LCO Judge Smith to the National Association of Counties CJCC exchange back in February. They came back with some good ideas, and we're moving ahead with one of those. Just because of the activity within the CJCC, there's a lot of things happening which are all good. It's also getting a little difficult to manage and be efficient in our meetings. So creating some subcommittees that would help, like an executive committee and a data committee, and probably maybe something in the area of truancy to help manage some of these efforts. They really have stepped up the amount of funding that's been generated that's coming in, but I'm a little concerned about just keeping tabs on everything and making sure it's showing some results as well. Facilities, most of the work within the building that we had planned is close to being completed. Some small remodeling projects. I'm really hopeful that next month that we're gonna have final design and tower locations from GenCom to finalize that project. So it is moving ahead. They are working on it, identifying potential tower sites and alternatives so we don't have to build. I did have a meeting with the carbon credits just to see where things are at and things are progressing. There's potential that we'll see sales of the carbon credits in the third quarter of this year. They're supposed to be getting me a kind of a written report to share with you, but things are moving ahead. Just a little bit on the state budget. We talked a little bit about that with the clerk of courts resolution. And you did see in the HHS report that next week is the next county ambassador program visit with the legislators, specifically on human services items. That happens next week. And then if you really want to get involved in the state budget process and be an advocate for counties, block off your calendar for Monday, April 28th from 10 to 5. You can go to the Hayward High School and testify in front of the Joint Finance Committee about all the things you'd like to see them do. Tour Swimming House, if you have any questions on that, if you're starting to hear anything, let me know. We do have an FAQ document that keeps getting added to as we get questions as we go through the licensing process with all of the rooming house owners for the county license. Strategic planning, I heard about that last month and voted to move ahead, partially because of my departure, but also I wanted to get it kicked off with some really good background information for the board. We weren't able to schedule it for tonight, but next month you're gonna get a presentation from Dale Knapp with Forward Analytics. If you know the little, not little, but kind of aqua blue reports you get about every quarter, those are done by Forward. I'm not gonna tell you it's really, really exciting stuff, but Dale does about as good a job as any of making it interesting. So there was, the new one they just came out with was affordability of housing, which we were not great here, and it's gotten worse as far as the disparity between what housing costs and what people who live here have for income. So they'll be highlighting that. I asked them to go through kind of the Green Book statistics, where Sawyer County sits relative to the rest of the state. The other thing that we're talking about with them, or they're talking about with everybody, is the pressures that you're gonna feel of operating county government as we have kind of the explosion of the older population as people are retiring and getting out of the workforce, the demands on senior housing. We already have discussions on senior meal program. That's only gonna have more demands on it, and long-term support, things like that are gonna become big issues, especially in areas like this where you're gonna have a rapidly aging population that needs those services. So he'll talk about all those things and give you background as you launch into the strategic plan so you can take those things into account. And the last thing I just wanted to comment on, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know, but we are trying to keep track of the federal funding and all the changes happening out in Washington. At this point, we don't see anything directly impacting us, but I think it's just a matter of time where either staffing of the Forest Service will impact us or some of those things. The budget continuation or resolution last week did knock out some directed spending that some of our federal legislators had put into the budget. Those have been taken out. Didn't see anything there that impacted us directly, but we're trying to keep on top of it. I've talked to department heads to let me know if we're getting, I don't know if everybody's getting them, but I get probably an email every day or every other day from a federal agency acknowledging an executive order or things that they're kind of broadcast emails, but I've asked departments to let us know if they hear of anything directly. I know some counties that, have federal grants or federal funding are filing their reimbursements almost daily or even weekly, rather than waiting till the end of the month, just in case anything gets cut off. We don't think we have anything like that here, but just tell department heads to focus on the things we can control, and we'll deal with anything that happens outside of our control as it happens, so.
Questions? Thank you. Nice job. Number 19, Board Appointment Committee updates.
Yes, sir. Sawyer County Lakuta Ray Transit met again today. Got an update. We have currently 30 employees. We're hiring for an operations weekend supervisor at the transit. It will not affect our budget because we had already budgeted that position. On Friday, April 24th, we'll have an all-staff training day, so transit will be closed that day. Ridership for February dipped a little bit due to the cold weather and a couple days that they had to close. Recently, Transit received their 6 new buses that were ordered last year. These are all buses that came in at a very good price, and they do not require a CDL license to drive them. So that's really important. And then we, Mr. Buckholz accepted the nomination for chair of the Transit Board of Commissioners, and Mr. Hellwig is our new secretary treasurer. And then a Miss Diana Tunn from Lakuta Ray is the vice chair of Transit. So that concludes my report.
Mr. Carrion.
February 24th, Indian Head Community Action Agency Board of Directors met. We went through the 2024 financial audit plan. We've hired Clifton Larson Allen to provide audit services for the next 3 years. And in conjunction with their audit services, they're going to actually provide financial training to board members to help them get up to speed with all the audit numbers, you know, what those numbers mean, that sort of thing. So as far as the federal funding freeze, Indian Head is about 2/3 federally funded, so they're all ears when it comes to what's going on with the funding freezes. They had a temporary freeze on funding for about 72 hours, but otherwise, so far, knock on wood, everything's been going along. They were told they need to make some changes to the website, basically having a disclaimer that states the opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed are those of Indian Head and not of the funders. So just kind of distancing, you know, the entity from the feds. And the Strategic Planning Committee is working on the community needs assessment, and in May, we're really going to dig into that. In fact, they're looking at a 2-day retreat to get it done, so to speak. So other than that, last week, no, I guess March 17th, that was last Monday. Our executive committee met down in Ladysmith, and we went through the review. We reviewed the external audit procedures, and we also worked through the CEO compliance monitoring report. And next week, Monday, is the March board meeting for Indian Head. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Number 20, correspondence, reports, conferences, and meetings. Administrative meeting will be on March 25th at 10 o'clock. Anybody else have anything else? Meeting adjourned. Thank you kindly. It was a long meeting, but we accomplished a lot.